All right, Tony, saddle or lightweight hang-on stand? What say you?
I say it depends.
Testing out different areas, finding deer. I think the best thing about either one of these things is that it gives you the ability to relatively conveniently pull up stakes, try somewhere else.
Yep.
Learn as you go. It's so tempting, especially when you have a ladder stand or some kind of permanent setup or a big box blind or whatever. It's so easy to fall into the temptation of just sticking it out where you are because it's comfortable, it's convenient. It'd be a real pain in the butt to relocate.
Right.
Not so much with these.
With a saddle, you have consistent, very lightweight system. If you pair it with sticks that are super light.
Yeah, so no matter what, if you're using the stand or the saddle, you're gonna have to bring sticks of some kind.
Right. If you look at the lightweight, hang-on stand market, you'll see stands that are almost like advertised to be mobile setups. You know, they'll have some catchy name, but they'll be, 18 pounds,
yeah.
20 pounds. For me, if I get into double digits with just the stand, that's too much.
Because then you're still tacking on.
Right.
That.
And so your ability and your willingness to, get up in the tree, look at it, go, this isn't right, I got to move there. It'll be diminished by how much work it is. And carrying and moving around a stand, even the difference between 8 pounds and 16 pounds it can be a big deal. Plus, the bigger they get, the more noise they make, setup, carrying it through the woods. So first off, you have to acknowledge the absolute advantage that there is in saddles in that department.
Yeah, like you're heading into the tree stand with your sticks and maybe no platform, or if you are using a platform, it's pretty darn small. So it's not getting caught on branches when you're hiking in. You don't have this big metal thing that's banging against sticks, banging against your tree saw, hitting your quiver, different things like that. Lighter weight, quieter on entry, and then as you said, lighter weight and quieter when you're going up the tree.
Yeah. The next consideration is how comfortable are you shooting from a platform, or from an elevated position, I should say. If you can set up a hang-on stand to shoot, if you're a right-handed shooter off to your left, the action you have to make, the movement you have to make, it's so minimal, it's so nice. And if you want to stand up and shoot behind the tree, some people are more comfortable that way. I would say the learning curve for being a good shot from a tree stand is different from the learning curve wearing a saddle.
Yeah, and probably a little bit faster. Like it's not as difficult.
Yep.
I wouldn't say either one is insurmountable, right?
Yep.
But it is a little bit different. I think one of the biggest hangups for me for many years, I was using these and thought saddles looked crazy. I just thought to myself, it could never be comfortable to shoot from this kind of position, to be swinging around. And it's not for everyone. I think that's a key thing to remember, is that not everybody is going to like this, so you want to try it. I found that for me, it's been surprisingly comfortable, stable, and viable in a lot of situations. Now, there is some movement required, but that movement can buy you more shot opportunities sometimes when I can swivel around the tree and I can shoot, way over here, and then I can spin around and I can ostensibly shoot all the way here. And the one possible pain point with a saddle is shooting at your offside, but you can still shoot that. It just requires a little move. You just stand up on your platform, put your rope over your shoulder, and now you can shoot 360 degrees around a tree like this at least. But it does require a little practice in that movement.
And it looks, when you watch somebody demonstrate it, it looks like it would be really awkward, but when you're in the moment, like a couple years ago, I killed my Wisconsin buck on one week in November, having to go to my offside, and I didn't even really remember getting into position. It sort of just becomes muscle memory. Yeah. So you have that, you have that concern. You mentioned comfort, and I always think, when people are like, should I get one or the other? I'm like, you should probably get both. But if you're considering just one or the other, for me, if I'm going out for an all-day rut sit, I will pick a hang-on stand every time if I can get away with it. If I think I'm gonna go to that funnel pinch point, I'm not leaving. It's gonna be 11, 12 hours. I'm just more comfortable that way. It's nicer for me to hang my pack off the side, eat my sandwich. But for a a half day strike in somewhere, that's my choice almost every time.
Yeah, I would agree with you in that if I had 2 pre-set up spots, like they were already set up for me, if I had a saddle set up somewhere and I had a stand like that set up for an all-day sit, and if I had my druthers, I would say that would be a little bit more comfortable for an all-day sit. But to be fair, neither one, you're not going to be, lounging in extreme comfort for 12 hours no matter what kind of stand you're in. There's going to be a level of discomfort. There's going to be a level of like, there's something that's achy here or whatever. You're just going to have to adjust. Like, with a saddle on an all-day sit, I've done a whole lot of them, and it just requires adjusting things. Like sometimes put your knees in the tree, sometimes lean like this, sometimes stand up, sometimes lean back on the tree. Constantly readjusting your position so there's not tension or pull in the same place the whole time. It's kind of the same with a stand. Like sometimes you want to sit, sometimes you want to stand up, sometimes I'll stand on one leg. Just different things to keep your body out of that, just locked into the same position.
Yep.
But yeah, it's probably, even for me, a little bit more comfortable in that. But I wouldn't say like, you can't do this.
Right,
You
can do it. And I mean, it's up to the individual too. The more you get used to all the little adjustments on a saddle and the pressure points, the easier it is to put in a lot of hours there. It feels pretty awkward at first. It doesn't feel that awkward to sit down on a seat.
It's very natural.
People tend to take a hang-on stand and face it where they think the deer are gonna be, and people tend to take a saddle and hide behind the tree. Yeah. Now, for a long time, I've been hanging my stands so I can shoot off my left side and use the tree, but I see a lot of people who don't. And so one way to kind of naturally get into that, being able to hide and position the tree between you and the deer, the saddle wins on that one.
Well, let's imagine there's a deer coming from here. What I have is a great situation here where if there's a deer coming that I don't want to shoot, I'm just going to stay right behind this tree and I will slowly rotate. If that deer is moving through, like let's say it's a doe and young or something like that, I don't want to be seen. Even in a tree with no cover like this, sometimes you can get away with just like slowly keeping that tree in between you and those deer. But if there's a deer I do want to shoot, I might stay in this position until he starts angling over here. He gets his head behind a big log or something. Now is my moment to just swing a little bit into where I want to shoot, draw back, and now I've got great stability, a great position, but I've maintained, basically invisibility for the first part of that encounter.
Yep.
So one other thing to think about when it comes to shooting from these things is yes, like there are inherent benefits to both. You can be comfortable and accurate and effective from both. But I would also say with either one of these options, you should practice in these positions, right? Don't just shoot behind the house on, just like normal. Get in a mobile stand like this, find a little tree in your backyard, get in the saddle, especially with a saddle, because it is more unique, different than, standing just like you would in the backyard on your tree stand. Really practice from a saddle. I've got a setup behind my house where there's actually a support beam on a back patio that I throw my tether on, hang off that and practice. It's easy to do. It helps you get used to the slightly unique position. It also helps you practice those like different kinds of shots. Like shooting like this is a great shot with a saddle, but you never would do that in your backyard standing up, right? It's a very unique thing and you have to practice for that.
Right. And so if you're gonna go the mobile route, get something that's pretty quality and learn how to use it correctly so you're comfortable with it. Because that's like the confidence in your system is like the difference maker.
Yeah. There's nothing worse than going in for your opening night sit or the first day of your rut vacation with your new saddle setup or your new mobile setup and you're trying to get it all put together in the dark and you're clanking around making all sorts of noise and you see the sun rising higher and higher and you're freaking out and you're sweating and you're stressed out and then all of a sudden here comes that big old buck.
Yep.
Don't let that happen.
No.
Practice this thing well ahead of time, get comfortable with your system, figure out which one feels most comfortable for you. It's going to be different for everybody. You probably can't go wrong with it.
Yeah.